Hey, great day, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. Today, we are talking about becoming what's called U squared. And so, first off, I want to say happy pre July. I know that next week, everybody's going to be, I'm guessing, connected in the community, going to functions, having fun as it relates to 4th of July. But also, July signifies the third quarter. And so, I'm going to call this our book club. I am streaming live on YouTube. And so you can watch on Instagram, you can watch on YouTube, Facebook, etc. I'm not going to be sharing my screen. And so it's really going to be a chit chat. And so, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being very excited, how excited are you all about your third quarter? Now, I know that the third quarter has came by very fast. But I thought that this would be a prime time to talk about how you want to prime your mindset to reach your goals by the end of the year. Some people need to sit down and review, or everybody actually should be sitting down and reviewing your goals of how close you are between now to the end of the year. But also, you want to do a reflection. And typically, I talk about this at the end of the year, but I'm going to move it up a little bit. And in our community, we talk about rest to reset and recharge. And from time to time, especially in my highlights on Instagram, I post a lot about travel or spending time with family. I'm a Disney mom or a Disney woman. I like Disney myself. And so I like to get outside of my regular office space that I'm in today so that I can generate some creativity. And so this will be mindset. This is going to be, like I said, our little early book club. I'm going to read some, oh, you can't see it. I'm going to read some information and share with you from this book called U Squared. As you can see, it's kind of beat up. I was introduced to this book. It's by Price Pritchett, PhD. I was introduced to this as a gift during one of my masterminds, actually in the year of 2020, without us knowing what was about to happen. Then I end up reading the book like before I got home on the plane from Orlando, Florida to California. And you're going to see what intrigued me. And my hope is that when I share some, because I'm going to drip it out over time, when I share some of the information, it will start to hopefully excite you, fire you up, but also get you still to the point where you sit down and make a clear plan. Okay. So you don't have to be in any industry to learn information like this, because outside of being a mentor for digital products and therapist business, I'm also first a clinical psychologist, right? So I'm first going to introduce the first section. It's called The Promise. And by all means, y'all know I like for y'all to talk back to me. And so if anything hits you, show some hearts or like or something like that, just so that I can know y'all here with me. So I'm first going to introduce the first chapter called The Promise. And this book is like lit with sticky notes. I don't know about you, but the way that I even take notes is that I will read, I will highlight, but then I will also make notes to what applies to me in that moment. So, like, I'm actually in the process of reading this book again, and the sticky notes will just be a different color because I'm in a different season. Okay. So y'all get ready. So the first topic is called The Promise. Okay. The Promise. So he likes to give little blurbs, and it says, you don't have to be content with improving things incrementally or gradually. So what does that mean? That means that other people around you may say things like, oh, you want to make an extra $50,000 in 6 months. And let's just say you've never done that before. For some people, that it depends on how their mindset is set up. They may not believe that to be true. Now, granted, I do believe when I work with a money team, a CPA, their goal is to help me reach my goal if you find the right one. But also, I don't want somebody to shoot me down without hearing out my plan. Right. So some CPAs or tax professionals may say, nope, let's just focus on an additional 10,000 because that's what I feel like you can do based off the pattern of your numbers. And that makes sense. They're going based on logistical information, but it doesn't mean that you should give up the dream that you want to make an extra 50. Does that make sense? And so you don't also have to go in stages. We're going to get to that, but it's called a quantum leap. Now, for some people, quantum leaps happen all the time, but for some people, it happens sporadically every 5, 6 years, let's just say. But quantum leaps don't come out of nowhere. There are always micro steps that leads to the quantum leap. Okay. So I want to read a few of my highlights from this section in the promise, because this is really focused on the promise to you, right? So one of the excerpts is, it says, you are capable of exponential improvement in your performance. It doesn't matter how you performed January of this year. It doesn't matter how you performed, heck, last week, right? The goal is that if you want something bad enough and if you want something big enough for you, you're going to do what it takes to get there. Faith without works is dead, right? You can actually multiply your efforts. Now, please note, multiplying your efforts does not mean that you work more hours, because sometimes people get it in their mind that if I work more hours, that dictates more money. And potentially, I guess, if you're a service provider, you can see more clients, but at what cost will it come to you at the end of the week when you're tired, you're burnt out, and maybe even you resent even getting the new client in the first place, right? Another thing that stood out is life is prepared to give you a breakthrough experience. That's why we are here. I don't believe that anybody is here on earth to live a mundane life. You are not here just to like skate by and live poorly, to be honest. I know that I'm very unorthodox. I'm very abnormal. I remember running Facebook ads, and I haven't ran any Facebook ads this year, or in the beginning of the year I did. But boy, oh boy, when I put a lot of money into investing into Facebook ads so that it can do what it needs to do as a generating machine for like my launches, I get so much like dislike from my own kind. And what I mean by that is, therapist to therapist, if I'm doing a therapist business launch and I'm talking to mental health providers to like kind of, well, not kind of, I'm shifting the way that they see finances, specifically wealth and riches. And I'm not just talking about only riches like a car or something like that. I'm talking about wealth, like time, your lifestyle, what you want to do with your time, right? What you want to do with retirement, what do you want to do for your parents, what do you want to do for your community, what is your purpose? And I find that some people just either go straight to hate, or they read through all the information and all they pick up on is when I say something like, I got a new handbag. Like that is like 3 words, and like you can have it all: a new handbag, a profitable private practice, a happy marriage, taking your kids to Walt Disney World. Like, I don't see why we have to choose when we've been gifted to have access to everything that we want. It's just a matter of, do you want it or not? Would you all agree? And so life is prepared to give you a breakthrough experience, but sometimes life is literally waiting for you. So I see here on YouTube, what's up, Asterix? She said, I am 5 out of 10. However, I know I'm long overdue to sit down and set my intentions. Listen, the biggest thing about, I'm going to say, change and even quantum leap is acknowledging where you are, because once you're aware of where you are, you can't neglect where you are. You know what I'm saying? Like, the only way to look is forward in the mirror, even though some people may get stuck because they're constantly looking in the rearview mirror. And that's problematic, right? It's okay to like reflect and see what you need to learn, but why are you living in the rearview mirror? That's the question. Why are you living in the rearview mirror? So another quote that I would like to share from just this, and all these chapters are like super short, y'all, like they super short, like 1 page only. Okay. So don't tell me y'all can't read this. And it is not on Audible. So you don't have to be content with improving things incrementally or gradually. You just as your level of performance can improve drastically, so you can rate so so can your rate of accomplishment. Let me read that again. So you don't have to be content with improving things incrementally or gradually. Just as your level of performance can improve drastically, so can your rate of accomplishment. So let's remove the 2020 effect, because some people saw a drastic increase in business or being able to open up a business in 2020. Around 2023, inflation started kicking in pretty much across the globe. And then all of a sudden, people were like, now, wait a minute, including myself, right? Like, things look different for your clientele, for the way that you market. So you just have to tap into that. And so the way that I saw myself experimenting with different ways that I wanted to help people is I looked at, okay, what are some things that probably were on the back burner that maybe I can offer to my audience that can give them just an introduction to me being able to help them in particular areas, hence like ebooks or master classes, or let's just do a CE workshop like once this upcoming quarter, kind of thing. Because most of my offers are considered high ticketed because of the ROI of what it can give you on the back end. But I know that some, not all, people are able to do that, but I also have recognized that I'm not trying to serve everybody anyway, right? So, what I started to do with my experimentation, which always provided a quantum leap to me, because a quantum leap doesn't have to be no $1 million. A quantum leap can go from, oh my God, I put something on sale. And now within 3 weeks, I got 63 students. That happened with our Digital Side Hustle Club last December, right? Or I shut down the membership and then I end up putting out the ebook and I replace the revenue from a live coaching program to something not fully passive, but more active passive, meaning I can get money in my sleep, but I still need to market that the ebook is available, right? And so to me, that's a version of a quantum leap because it's a shift in your mindset, right? Um, so let me go into the definition of a quantum leap. So taking the quantum leap, according to the book, and this person who wrote this is a psychologist, so that's pretty cool. It is the explosive jump. So I want you to think back to a time where you may have had a quantum leap and you didn't even realize it. Okay. So it is an explosive jump that a particle of matter, you, undergoes in moving from one place to another. In a figurative sense, taking the quantum leap, meaning taking a risk, keyword, going off into an unknown charted territory with no guide to follow. So when I read that, I immediately thought back to the biggest quantum leap outside of like grad school was 2020, because I did not start that year knowing I would have 7 private practice academy launches, one live event launch, a mastermind launch, automated webinar launch. I mean, I had access to Lego instructions per my mentor's program that was open last week, called Business by Design. But I went back to my resources and I was just experimenting. And it just so happened that people wanted what I had. And so my revenue went from 27K the previous year of doing random master classes plus one cohort of the academy and some one-on-one coaching like behind the scenes, to then generating over 400 and something thousand dollars in 2020 only. And that wasn't all cash collected. It was some money that was like six figures that was projected, in the future. But also keep in mind, and this is just for coaching, that I went from, let's just say, generating $12,000 in one launch to $50,000 in a month, cash collected. And so that is mind blowing to me, considering that in 2020, I wasn't even speaking like I want to be a millionaire. I was just really, and y'all, if y'all know me, I'm really focused on purpose first. I have to be aligned with what I'm doing and who I'm serving, or it's not going to matter. Right. So when you think about having a quantum leap, or you want to have a quantum leap, I will share with you this equation that I've been sharing with the community for a while. It's not a secret. It's not mine, right? It's the 80-20 rule. And we're not talking about delegation. 80-20 rule for mindset and growth and quantum leap is whatever you want on your vision board, in your mindset, it's 80% mindset and 20% strategy. So let's just say, for example, if I want a new home, right? It doesn't mean that I won't save up for the money, but I have to have the right mindset to stack up money. I have to have the right mindset to clear out debt. I have to have the right mindset. Let's just say if someone is struggling with finances, I have to have the right mindset to get out of my shamefulness and go and create payment plans so that I can pay it off. I'm not a financial advisor, but one thing I do know about the financial industry is that if you call people and you set up a payment plan, these people just want their money back. Right. And so don't let them write you off just because you scared to call. You feel me? Like, get out of your head. Okay. But if I wanted that home, 80% of it, if I even go back to my first home, 80% of it was mindset, because I believe that that was my home. The home that I actually purchased in 2012, it was my home months before it was my home, actually years before it was my home. If y'all know the story, it is on my podcast. But that home was mine. I declare it was mine. I was decorating it like it was mine. And then when it came up on the market at 5 o'clock in the morning, I texted my realtor and said, it's mine. He said, do you want to see it? I said, I'll see it later. Put in the offer. Guess what? A couple of months later, closed escrow. It was mine for about 7 to 8 years. Okay. And so claim what's yours. But the way that you would make a quantum leap is shifting your mindset. Okay. Now, the last part that I'll share is like the topic of the day, which is U squared. That's the name of the book. So again, I'm going to highlight some yellow excerpts. And if you like them, just say something in a comment box like, that like that hits different, right? So it starts off with let's see. So most people operate with the mindset that assumes success one step at a time. I'm actually going to read this whole chapter because this thing is good. I think it's yes, only one page. So most people operate with a mindset that assumes success comes one step at a time. It's probably something you were taught. The unspoken but popular notion is that we must move systematically from our present level of achievement to the next. That's what you're told, to go in order like grades. Then the thinking goes, from the stage we can begin working toward graduating to still the next higher level in the sequence. So basically what you're taught over time, what they're highlighting in this book, is that you've been conditioned to gradually process literally like a grade. And it would be like us almost saying like no kid can ever get skipped a grade. Like we know that that's not true. We know that kids in the United States and heck other countries are graduating with their bachelor's, with their master's, with their doctorate, right? These are kid geniuses, right? And they got their own gift. So if we were to believe the mainstream, when we're caught up in our feelings, when you're telling somebody your big dreams and they like, well, no, you got to go here. Now, the strategy may have to go there because you do need to learn a skill set, right? But at the same time, it doesn't mean that your mindset has to be belittled because someone else is telling you that your dream is not true, right? And so this is an unfortunate misconception, and it's clearly reflected in the way people function. Would you agree? They meaning us, right? People go about day to day striving to make incremental gains in their performance. Think about that. You wake up every day and your goal is, well, what's the next little step versus like how big I want to go? Like that'd be my energy, right? That's pretty routine. That's the pathway of conventional growth. So am I saying that conventional growth doesn't work? I'm not saying that. But if you want to see results a lot faster, then you may want to start thinking a little bigger. So the book is called You, the word You Squared. It is on Amazon and it is by Price, Price, Pritchett, Pritchett. I'll link it in the YouTube video when I'm done, but it's called You Squared. If it looked like this is the right one. If it's this thin, this is it. If it looked like a novel, it ain't it. Okay. So let's keep going. But your life simply does not always have to operate that way, meaning you don't always have to operate in small stages. You're welcome. Advancing at a measured pace, step by step, from where you are to a little bit better ordinarily feels better. Like, yes, like the whole I'm 1% better than yesterday. And I'm not saying that that's not positive. That's good because you know you're getting better. But what we're saying is in this book, or what he's saying is that your whole life does not need to be like that. There will be certain seasons where, like if I teach therapists how to open up a private practice, that is the season where I'm not saying you can't go from 0 to 20 clients hell in a week. I mean, you might got pull online, you got people that can refer you, right? But it does not mean that you do not need to go step by step of building that back office, right? Yeah, thin book. Okay, I read this on a whole flight home, 4 hours, done. Okay, so let's see, let's keep going. Oh, so listen to this. So ordinarily, gradual increases does feel better. It feels more natural because that's what you're used to. And it even feels safer. Why don't we dream big? Because you feel uncomfortable. Why don't we go for the jugular and go all in, no matter how uncomfortable it feels? Because you're scared of the unknown. You're scared of uncharted territory, right? But in certain areas of your life, you can just as easily think in terms of skipping levels, like skipping a grade. If your child was in school, or your brother and sister, a kid that you've looked over at some point, right? Or you love, a God kid, if you don't have any kids yourself. If you knew that your kid was testing super high on all these standardized tests, they're getting all A's, and even the teacher is like, this kid should not be in his grade. You mean to tell me you're going to sit back and say, yeah, go ahead and keep them in the third grade? You can be like, nah, what do I need to do to get them in the fourth? As long as it's psychologically okay for the kid, because skipping kids too much, like a kid skipping like 3 grades, psychologically, we just want to do a check-in because developmentally, they may be a different place in maturity, clearly than their academics, right? So just insert that. So you can move from your present level of achievement to one that is several stages higher directly, right? Okay. So next, you make the quantum leap. This is what they're telling you. You make the quantum leap, you become U squared. That's where the book name comes from. When you make the quantum leap, you become U squared. So I have U squared multiple times. That's why I want y'all to think about how many times have y'all actually quantum leaped. So if we look at recently for my business the last 4 years, starting that July of 2020, I quantum leap to like a 50K month. By November, I hit 180K launch month. That was another quantum leap. Okay. Then when I go into the like one of the launches that we had in January generated $90,000 in sales. That was another quantum leap. Actually, before that, I had 3 6-figure launches for one program in 1 year. Quantum leap. But I will tell you, my mindset definitely shifted, right? And so instead of accepting present circumstances, whatever you're going through right now, I'm not negating that people don't go through problems. I got my own problems. I don't share them on social media, but we human, right? Instead of accepting your present circumstance or being content with gradual improvement, you go for a breakthrough. If you want it, you go after it. Simply put, okay? U squared implies an implosive jump, big jump. You can't be scared to know if you gonna make it to the other side. So I want y'all to imagine that you're on a bridge. I'm gonna use my lip gloss, right? So I want you to imagine that you're on this side of the bridge, and let's just say the bridge is like that long, right? But you can't see where you're gonna land. See, here's the problem with entrepreneurship and also personal life, right? Is that we're right here and you start going across the bridge. You get me without the visual. And as soon as you get like even a little close to the edge, you like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. And so the best analogy, and I'm gonna give them credit where credit is due. Mind Your Business podcast by my mentor James Wetmore. Him and his co-host had came out with a podcast, I think like 2 weeks ago, right before his big launch last week. And it might have come out before then, but I listened to it last week. And so one of the takeaways that I've been sharing with everybody, so I'm gonna share it with y'all too, but I'm giving them credit. So just go take a look at it. It went out like a couple of weeks ago. Is they gave the analogy of like why entrepreneurs may not be as successful as they would like, and they talked about mindset. So I'm going to ask y'all. I had asked my husband, but he had a different response because of the person who he is. And then I asked a group of people last week at a staff training, and they answered completely opposite of my husband, but their mindsets are different, right? So the question is everybody should know who Michael Jordan is, right? So whether you like him or not, like, you know who he is. So if I told you this is the example in the podcast, I'm just going to like tweak it a little bit. So the analogy was because I think they did it at an event, and I was like, oh my God, that's so fire. I put you on a court with Michael Jordan. And I tell you that if you play Michael Jordan and you win, you will win $100,000. The question I have for you today is, would you still play? Like, would you go into the court and play? Right? Now, I know there's a lag time with response. So just go ahead and put a yes or no. Like, would you go and play Michael Jordan? And if you win, it's 100K. Right? So my husband said yes. When I did the training, more people said no. Right. And so what they got to, and it just, I knew where it was going before I even went. Cause my mind was like with my husband, like, I get to get in front of Michael Jordan. You feel me? And so I'm just like super juicy, get in front of him. I could walk out the gym saying, I did it. I played. Think about that mindset. Right. But then the no person, if you were a no, own your stuff. Right. The no person, the reason why they're not going to play, walk into the gym is because they believe that they cannot win. So what are they saying? Regardless of basketball skills, I want me and my husband have played basketball, but I want you to remove that, right? Strip the skill set and look at your mindset. 80% mindset, 20% strategy. The 80 percenters with that mindset is like, I don't care if I lose. I don't know what's going to be on the other side of this game, but what I do know is that I'm walking in the gym, I'm going on the court, and at least I can say that I tried to play the game. I'm getting chills just saying this. So I want y'all to think about that. How many times have you refused for your business? Because your wins in your business is on the basketball court. If we're looking at basketball, we can look at any sport. I mean, the playoffs just happened. I ain't going for no team, but I'm just saying, like, it just happened. So if we took that analogy, I want you to ask yourself, how many times have you drove to the gym and then drove away? How many times have you got out the car at the gym, went to the ticket booth, and then said, "No, I'm cool"? What I'm referencing is how many of y'all in business have gotten super duper close, like 3 feet from gold. And then because it gets too hard, it gets too comfortable, you don't want to lose, you don't want to fail. But please note, successful people failed before they were successful. And failure doesn't mean that you didn't learn anything. I believe that everything is a learning experience, not a mistake. The worst thing that can happen is you decide that you're no longer aligned with something and then you pivot a different direction. But what's the worst thing that can happen if you walk into the gym and you get on the court? What's the worst thing that can happen with Michael Jordan? Like, you don't win. So this is where she got him. She said a lot of people did not raise their hand. And I said, "Ooh, I know why," right? And so then she mixed it up and she said at the event, they were recapping this on a podcast. She said, "Now I want you to imagine if you're LeBron James." And again, I just want you to think about the skill set, or Kobe. It doesn't matter if you like these individuals, it's just a matter of their skill set. If we now gave you the title of, you're not TK, you are, I'll go with Kobe. You're Kobe Bryant. Would you walk on the court and play Michael Jordan for 100K if you win? And she said most people said yes. I did this with a training, and a lot of them, pretty much everybody in the room, raised their hand. And before I gave them like the insight that I just gave you, I said, "Why is that?" And they were like, "Oh, because I'm probably going to win." You know what I'm saying? And I was like, "That's interesting, because that's how people go through life." And that's problematic. You ain't having no quantum leaps in your business, in your mindset, in your bank account, any part of your life, if you're not willing. Let me pull on my little bridge, right? If you're not willing to walk on the bridge, walk across the bridge, sometimes don't even look down. Just jump. Like when I jumped in March of 2020, yeah, there were different circumstances, but I mean, I continued to do that even when we were out of that area, right? So you want to ask yourself, why are you getting in the way of walking on the court? Because this is an example I gave at my conference last year, but I did it for like for football, but same thing, court, field, whatever. Is you have to decide which role you want to play in your business. Whether you're a beginning entrepreneur or seasoned or in the middle, it does not matter, right? I want you to ask yourself, are you the person that drives to the game and sits in the car? Are you the person that gets out the car to go buy your ticket, like, "I'm here to participate"? Or do you stop there? Keep going. Do you go into the gym or in the field, on the field, and you sit in the bleachers and observe? That is you watching all of the mindset and listening to all the mindset stuff that I talk about, but you don't do nothing with it. Like if I just told y'all about this book, why ain't y'all ain't ordering it tonight? If I told you about Mind Your Business you tonight, tomorrow morning, you get in my DM and you say, "Can you give me that podcast episode? I want to listen to the whole thing," right? Like that's taking action, right? So are you an observer? Or do you happen to walk down the stairs from the bleachers and you say, "You know what? I want to get a closer look. I'm going to jump off the ledge and I don't know what's on the other side, but I am going to sit my butt on that bench, even if I'm benched." And benched in entrepreneurship is more like you're getting prepared to get in the game. You probably miss training season. You training season, AKA, is that you didn't do your job to learn a skill set to then implement stuff. Some of y'all trying to quantum leap with no additional skill set, but what you have, and you're going into a whole different industry, believing that people will know you because they know you over here. That's just like me waking up tomorrow on Instagram and saying, "Hey, y'all, I'm going to do a YouTube video behind the scenes. I'm selling houses now. I'm doing real estate in Southern California." Am I not saying that y'all won't take a look at what I have? Y'all probably will, like my community will. But will y'all buy from me? Hell no. Like you're going to be like, "She can't run my numbers, not for no real estate." Right? So will you be an observer? Will you go to the bench? Or will you say, "You know what, coach? I know I ain't been to too many practices, but I'm out of training season. I'm not red shirting again. And your training season, y'all ain't got to be that long. Okay. You dictate that. That's on you. Right. But I'm the type that I will sit there even if the coach took me out the game, because that's what happened in high school. And I was like, because you used to have to get a little angry with the when you get them refs that don't be calling like real calls, you feel me? Like I'm that kind of player where I'm like, so I would get taken out, I would calm down, and then I would say, "Can I get back in the game?" And they would say, "Are you calm?" I would say, "Yes." Do my deep breathing, get back in the game, score, I'm in there, right? Hence MVP, right? And so at the end of the day, you have to decide, what player are you going to be? And you don't always have to strive for, I need to be the MVP of Instagram. Please stop doing that. I stay in my lane. I'm not sitting here competing with somebody who got 100,000 followers. There are therapist coaches that got 90,000 followers, but they're my competitors. But it doesn't mean that I look at them and say, oh my God, what are they doing that I'm not doing? No, I look at, how do I want to show up in the marketplace? What do I want to give in terms of knowledge and transformation to my audience? And how can I package it with my messaging? And a lot of that is around me doing business therapy, AKA tonight. Okay. So let me keep going, because look, y'all done got me hyped up. All right. And PS, let me just go ahead and slide this in here. I am doing a masterclass tomorrow. It is not on this. It is on business therapy, but it's on marketing. So I sent out an email last week. I promoted a little bit of my stories, but I am going to do it again tomorrow, Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So East Coast, it'll be 7. So if you're on Instagram, you can just comment class. If you're on YouTube, check the show notes. Okay, but it's in the link in my bio on Instagram. All right, let's keep going. So U2 implies an impulsive a jump in your personal performance that puts you far beyond the next logical step. You skip steps. It's a formula of stunning advances in achievement and the realization of your dream, meaning sometimes you can't even see the bigness of your dream until you jump. Okay. The concept of quantum leaping is one of exponential gain rather than incremental progress. You might compare it to multiplying instead of adding, right? It means a geometric progression in your effectiveness. That's exciting as well as provocative, right? But it gets even better. Watch this. Remember, quantum leaps can come without apparent effort. I'm gonna give you an example, but it says these are high velocity moves that carry you to dramatically higher performances levels without a time consuming struggle. So I'm just going to insert this example right now. Some of y'all have heard the story, but I think you'll start seeing a different context of when I share stories like, oh, right. So I'm going to go back to 2020. Some of y'all, like some people back then, I don't even think it's nobody right now, but I remember having on like a pink hoodie, hair like not done because hell, we couldn't get our hair done, right, in the pandemic. And I was trying to figure out how to go YouTube live and have my first 5-day boot camp, now called a live launch. So it's crazy that sometimes you do things and you don't even realize that it's a name for it until after you do it. And then you get the processes for it and you're like, oh, I know how to do this already. But it's giving me some structure. That's how I felt with like launching a DTA program at that time. So I didn't want to do Instagram. I didn't want to do like a email one. I didn't want to do a webinar. I was like, we need community because right now people are isolated in their homes. So that's how my thought process was, right? So what I end up doing without any apparent effort is I just showed up as me. And that's what we're going to be talking about in that marketing masterclass tomorrow. Showing up authentically as you, but understanding the basics of marketing, right? So I knew that my voice is my gift. And I only knew that from teaching and being captains of cheerleading squads, basketball teams, and things like that. Just like the roles that I've had, even as presidents in high school and in grad school of my doctoral program, I realized that I have power in my voice. Some of you have power in your writing. Some of you have power in dancing. You find your gift, you stick with it, you share it with people, and the right people will come. Okay. So let me wrap up. It says quantum leaps seem to violate common sense utterly. You will disrupt somebody because they are thinking as a 97 percenter and you are thinking in the top 1 to 3% of like, nah, I could do better than that. Right? You ain't got to say it like that. The idea of moving to a higher orbit and skipping several levels on the achievement ladder in the process strikes people far fetched, maybe even outrageous, AKA your people will say you're doing too much. After the fact, Quantum Leap may be viewed as practical, sensible, and even obvious moves. So some people have asked me, like, why does it feel like when you do be posting, because I don't post as much as I used to, especially on Instagram, boy, but people be like, why does it seem like you just be posting your life with ease, right? And I'm like, because I'm posting my life with ease. I mean, I don't even know what to say, right? Will this live be saved? It'll be saved on YouTube. I don't know about Instagram. Probably not. It'll be in my archive, but in YouTube it'll stay and I'll download it to my podcast. Okay. But what I'm sharing with you is that once you get a taste of what it feels like to jump a couple of levels, you're going to want to jump a couple of more, right? But people around you may not like it. So it says that after these quantum leaps happen, um, usually it's in retrospect, looking back, that you perceive their hidden logic and elegance, that you realize, like, dang, there were micro steps that happened before all this stuff happened. And now you're connecting the dots, but the how is not your job. So here's the thing. You've heard that in manifestation, spirituality. Like I'll go with spirituality because some people, like I'll be talking to my friends about like manifestation, and a lot of people believe in it, but then some people are like, no, like, is Jesus the Lord? Manifestation is all throughout the Bible. Okay. Just like Google it and then pull up all different versions of your Bible. Literally type in the word manifest, manifestation, prosperous, rich, wealthy. It's all in your Bible. It does not matter what version you read. There is no scripture that says you were meant to be broke. If it is, please share it with me today. Put it in a box, right? Because what has happened is people got taught the Bible in a particular way based on their generational mindset. And then it got passed down to you. Okay. But that's not my life. So if that's you, that's okay. But I'm just letting you know that mindset is everything. So if we look at it from a manifestation purposes, and then I'll look at it from a spiritual like way, right? Manifestation is your goal. Your goal is not the how, but that doesn't mean that you're not supposed to do any action, right? So if I woke up and said, like with this masterclass, I said, I want to offer a smaller container for people to learn how to put their product out there and be authentic to themselves, because that's what I realized that I'm really good at is like following instructions per my coaches, but making sure that I personalize everything. I'm really good at that. And what works for me may not exactly work for you, but I can still give you the framework and then you personalize it for yourself. I do all of my programs like that. So some people may get stuck because they're trying to figure out the how, and they're trying to figure out the how watching me do me, and then they're trying to do it just like me, or they're trying to do it just like one of the support coaches, or they're trying to do it just like somebody else that they know. No, you need to learn the skill set and then do it like you, right? So when they say, don't worry about the how, your goal is not to figure out what's on the other side of the mountain. You just simply need to declare what you want. So if we attach that to spirituality, look that up in the Bible, right? Is that you're not, I always do this with my hands because that's the demonstration we learned like a couple of years ago in church, is that if this is your vision and this is God, he like, hey, like, go ahead and drop this in my hand. And then I'm going to need you to let go and then leave. Right? Meaning some people manifest. I know I do. I will declare something and then I will set it and forget about it. I'm not saying that I don't ever think about like my manifestations, but what I mean by it is I will write myself a manifestation check. I will have a talk, walk, thought process with God. I will voice record myself and then I'll go about my day doing the actions that I need to get closer to my goal. And all of a sudden I wake up and I hit the goal, but sometimes I don't even realize I hit the goal until intuition voice literally downloads. This is how I found out I hit $1 million. This is how I found out I hit 180K launch. This is how I figured out like a lot of big wins in my business is that I took a look back because I listened to my intuition, and my intuition, literally, I cannot forget it. My intuition, when I hit that million, it was like, I'm sitting on the couch with my husband. Like he could tell you, I'm sitting on the couch with him. And I knew that a couple of months prior, I was at like an 830. That's when some of y'all like knew I was close. Like, oh girl, when you gonna hit it? And that's cash collected, right? 18 months, I hit $1 million. And so I was sitting on the couch like a Friday night or something random. And a voice said, go check on your phone. Don't pull up your laptop. Go check your SAM cart report. That doesn't include all your past platforms or whatever. I just want you to look at Samcart, and I only want you to look at when you incorporated your business, when you started niching down to therapists. I don't want you to count all those like random workshops you used to do. Nope. I only want you to look at when I instructed you. I'm talking about God, right? This is my conversation. I feel like when he said, I instructed you to niche down, and I told you that I would make you wealthy based on you doing what you do well. Go look at your number. And I was like, okay. So I went and looked at my number, and I was stuck with like no words. So I snapshot it, and I told my husband, I said, because he was watching TV, I said, check your phone. He was like, what? He was like, you can't tell me? I said, check your phone. Because I literally couldn't tell him, right? And so he checked his phone, and he was like, what is this? Is this yours? And I said, it's a Brandon for Abundance or whatever. So he looked at it. He was like, this how much money you done make? And I was like, yes. I said, so I got the download before that on an airplane. I don't remember where I was going or coming back from, but that's when I realized it was 830. And I like nudged them right here in the airport or airplane. And I was like, I'm close because I couldn't text them clearly on the airplane, right? But I was on Wi-Fi. And so all I'm saying is I made a goal. And when my vision got big enough, I said, I'm gonna hit 1 million. I didn't say when. Now you can declare when, but I don't give God a timeline because I just feel like he could deliver it like in a week if he wants to. And he has never steered me wrong, even though I have always currently in now harvesting seasons. Harvesting seasons. 2024, some businesses are up. Mine has been like a cyclone. But guess what? All I did was channel my energy someplace else he wanted me to be, right? And so usually it's in retrospect that you perceive their hidden logic and elegance, okay? Meaning the quantum leap. Quantum leaps are not complex. They tend to be simple, energy efficient, and time saving. So what is that saying? If you're hella tired and you're like, I gotta reach my goal, I gotta reach my goal, you're not even gonna feel good about the goal. And that's the thing too. So like look at the word becoming, right? Becoming, like U squared, right? It don't say becoming on here, but I'll put that. So I'll tell y'all another one. And this like blew my mind once I realized that a conversation that I had had a year and a half prior set the tone for what I felt that night when I told my husband. So I was in a 7-figure mastermind. I hadn't hit 7 figures though. Everybody else had hit 7 figures. Let me be clear. Or I'm not gonna say everybody else, but at least like 85% of the room were already 7-figure earners, right? And so I was sitting at the table at the first mastermind. We were doing dinner, and I was sitting next to someone who was living in Southern California. So I'm like, oh, let me connect with some people who I can connect with online. I mean, at home. So she helps kids get into Ivy League schools, and she helps kids create passion projects. I think you can look it up like passion project or something like that. But um, she had just hit 1 million in her business at some point, like recently at that time. This was 2021. And so I was so intrigued because at that moment when I joined that mastermind, that's when I declared I'm gonna hit 1 million. Right. And so I said, like, how did it feel? Like, I'm super juiced. And she just like so calm. And I'm like, you're not excited? Oh no, she just hit it. And she was like, I mean, I thought that I was gonna be excited way more than what I am now and what I was when we looked at the numbers, but it just felt like a regular day. And I was like, "What?" Like, like not extra like that, but I was just like, "Oh my God." Like, heck no, I'll be like doing flips, all this stuff, right? And she started laughing. I'm like, how could you not? And she was like, I don't know. And then she said, well, technically, in so many words, she became the person who was already at the $1 million mark before she hit the $1 million mark. So she told me that. I heard it. And then I didn't hear it no more, right? Like said it, then forgot about it, right? Then when mine hit, I went about my day the next day. I did a podcast episode. Don't get me wrong about it. Celebrated it a couple of days later, but I didn't like like if somebody were to see me, they wouldn't notice anything different. It ain't like one of those memes I used to send to my family was like, when I hit the lottery, just know people will know. And I like sent my family a meme with like the Paris Disney World house sitting on the corner. And I was like, this about to be my, my house, right? But I didn't do anything like that. I mean, I celebrated, we went out to dinner. But it was like I just got a nudge, an intuitive nudge on the couch. And so what I'm explaining to you is when you believe internally what you want, like you declare it and you believe it's already yours, you become the person who already has it. So don't be surprised if your reaction is not how you played it over in your head. That's all I'm saying, right? So let me look at the comments before I wrap up. That's right. Actionable steps is what I always say. Let's go, TK. Keep up the good work. Thanks. Right. Out these little book clubs, cool, right? So let me wrap up this chapter. Only on page 6, right? So U squared, sorry, I have to be saying U squared, the quantum leap strategy can deliver those special dreams and ambitions that you feel should be yours. But the breakthrough demands a radical departure from some of your habits. So, when I experienced that first quantum leap and I looked back from July going backward to January, I'm going to recap to you some of the quantum leaps. And I think some of them are like, oh, my notes. That's the dope part, right? Like when you write these sticky notes, it's like, oh, I said some of this stuff, right? So, when I think back based off my memory, all of the crumbs, like successfully least clues, I realized that I did a lot in the beginning of 2020, but just doing it because I set it up for my intention for the year anyway, not knowing what was going to happen. And I do that every year. So in December, I decided I'm going to launch a membership called Dope Therapist Tribe. I did $1 enrollment. That's like my little signature thing for a little bit. And we end up getting like 60 something people in the program in 14 days. When I was sitting at the event and got handed this book, I was getting sales on my phone because we were talking about marketing. So I was getting sales on my phone for people joining the membership. And I was like, oh my God, in the room, I hit my goal of 50. Like sitting in the room, my goal was I want to hit 50 by a certain date. And I hit it sitting in the room. I left the room after a 2-day mastermind hitting like 53 or 54. Right. And I was like, oh my God. Right. Like that's so cool to set a goal and then you see it come to fruition a lot faster than you even anticipated. Right. So that was January. Then in February, March, I said, I'm going to have a launch for my program in July, but I'm going to open up my calendar to just kind of see where therapists are. And I'm going to test out some of these launch strategies that I learned in a program 2 years ago or a year ago. Because I had used them a little bit, but I'm going to go full fledged. And that's where, you join a course and you say, I'm going to go all in this year. Like this year ain't got to start January. Right. But it was just with timing that I had more time at that time, not knowing what was about to happen. So I said, I'm gonna open up my calendar. I start meeting with some therapists. And then I end up doing, this was that random stuff. I started doing like a masterclass series with like a group of people that bought it for like $250, just like random master classes, get out of your head, create a business plan. Like I was on to something, right? But what I was doing is building my list, my email list, not realizing how big of a deal building your email list. I mean, I knew it was a big deal, but I didn't understand how big of a deal it was going to be for these next few launches, right? So March, I had a call with a few therapists and they said, the program starts in July. Can I secure my spot with a small deposit? I said, sure. Then in March, we all know what happened in March. So I hit up those therapists. I literally woke up one day, like the day after we were shut down in Southern California. And I said, like, I heard a voice tell me, you got to double down on your niche. You've been playing around because you're in fear of niching down to only therapists because you're in fear that your sales are going to scale back. But what's the worst thing that can happen? You already have like a group practice. Like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Like, you know how to build a business, right? So I was like, you right. So I got up, put some stuff on Instagram, and then I started going live a lot. I dedicated 85 podcasts because I wanted to hit 100 podcasts by the end of that year. Like I want y'all to look at these goals. I came into the year posting randomly for 2 years, 15 podcast episodes. 2 years, 15 podcast episodes. That was not my goal, was 100. My goal with the podcast was just for it to be an outlet for me to tell therapists what mistakes I made so that they won't do the same thing. Like I was recording it on my iPhone with the corded headphones on the floor with a loud air conditioner. Okay. And so I said, I'm going to record 100 up to 100 episodes. So I went on my phone, and I don't know how many of y'all do this with goals. You can go onto Google right now. And like, if I go to Google, I can say, let's just say if you have weekly goals, I can say, how many weeks are there? And it says left in this year. Let's see, they're left in 2024. So as of today, June 24th, there are 27 weeks remaining. That sounds like tomorrow, right? So if I know that I have 27 weeks. And let's just say if I knew that I had to record, or I chose to record 85 episodes, I'm going to simply do division 85. So if it was today, if I wanted to do 100 episodes today and be outlandish, right? I can say 100 divided by 27. Y'all following this? So 100 divided by 27. So this means that I need to record 3.7, let's round it up, 4 episodes a week. Can you talk about commitment? So I recorded, y'all, 6 podcasts a week, 3 on one day. It was all audio, no video. 3 on one day, 3 on another day, simply because I knew that I was about to rev up my launches. And I did not know what my energy level was going to be like during those launches. So I didn't want to be talking during a boot camp and talking for podcasts, but I did, anyway. So I set out to have 2, I'm gonna keep going. I set out to have 1, maybe 2 private practice academy launches. I ended up having 7. I set out to do webinar launches. And in March, April, I did a 5-day boot camp, right? I set out to, I didn't even set out to have a live event. I just started talking to the therapists in my community, and they were talking about being isolated. So I had an intuitive nudge at like 4 o'clock in the morning, because that's the time I was waking up in the morning to work out. I had nothing else to do. And I recorded a video at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. I started dancing off Too Short. Y'all know what it is. And then I sent that video on Instagram and via email, but I sent it to my clients first. And I said, I want y'all to meet me in Vegas. These are the stipulations. If it shuts down, this is what I'm gonna do on the back end. Again, if this is my bridge, I didn't care, to be honest, what was on the other side. All I knew is what I wanted to do. And I'm not gonna lie, last year, I kind of lost my way on this bridge, hence why we shut down live events. Because at the end of the day, y'all know, whoever know me, know I love live events. I love engaging with our clients online. And when that is removed, I'm not being me. And that's a problem. And I will lose myself, kind of like in a relationship, right? Because you're in a business relationship. So I'm not going to go through all of the big jumps. But what I can tell you is that when I was at my mentor's event last March with my team member, they had us do a meditation. I'm going to close this out and let me know if you have any questions. They had us close our eyes on like one of the last days and do like a meditation. And they said, I want you to think about a time where basically there were no limits. And they didn't say these words, but pretty much in the context of today, when you made a quantum leap, like when you have big results, like what are you seeing? What was happening? How was your vibe back then? Like tap into our frequency, like all these things, right? I had my eyes closed. I was seeing hot pink, gold confetti, AKA celebration. That was my interpretation, right? It was like foggy. I was like in a tunnel, like coming out, kind of like I'm doing my own interpretation, right? But I'm smiling, ain't no music playing. But you would have swore I was dancing in my head how hard I was freaking smiling, right? And so they had us open up our eyes and they said, can anyone share what you learned about yourself? And a few people shared, but I'm like, nah, I'm about to hit y'all with this one. Cause I don't mind sharing, but sometimes I don't want to speak everything out loud. And so I journaled it. And then I raised my hand in a room of 400 people. And I was like, somehow even though I can talk, I still get nervous when I got to talk in front of that many people. So I raised my hand and they were like, TK. And I was like, so what I realized, and excuse my language right now, if you got kids, cover their ears. I said, one big thing that I realized when I closed my eyes is that every single success I have had in my business and in my personal life, but we were there for business, has been as a result of me not giving a fuck. And they were like, everybody start clapping, right? And they were like, tell me more. And I was like, well, in so many words, I wasn't worried about what's on the other side of jumping. I just did it. And every time, I didn't say all this, but every time God caught me. Not only did he catch me, he elevated me. So, welcome to our first book club. I'm not committing to anything. I just wanted to come on here and talk to y'all about this. I'm gonna be real. My team member, her and I and my husband have been talking a lot about mindset in our community. And my community has heard it a lot. But one of the things that my team member, that is not a therapist, but very intuitive, that she keeps picking up on, and one thing that she told me today was that she got a sense that some, not all people in our community, and I don't know what it is, but it's almost like they want things done for them versus, and it's a way that she said it, but I can't remember, so I'm gonna interpret it in my own way, versus getting your hands dirty and figuring it out. It doesn't mean you don't need guidance or mentorship or coaching, but I can't give you the whole template for your whole life. I'm going to give you a template. And as I mentioned earlier in closing, your job is to take what someone else's gift is to help you solve a problem. And your goal is to take it and personalize it to fit to and to mold to the person that God created you to be. So please stop joining programs, mentorship, buying digital products just so that you can not do any work. Business is hard. It can be simple, meaning you need to follow instructions with the help that you're getting, but business is hard. So I'm going to wrap up my business therapy. Again, if you go to Amazon, look for U Squared. I am in a season where it's summertime. I have a lot of downtime and I love to teach. So more than likely, I will just start going live randomly. I'm not going to announce it. I find that when I email y'all and tell y'all I'm going live, y'all start unsubscribing for some damn reason, as though I'm not giving you any gift for free. So I'm just going to hop on here and go live. And if you're here with me and the Lord, then you're here. All right, y'all. Y'all have a great night. I will talk to y'all later. I'll make sure to drop this on the audio podcast as well so that we can bless people who just prefer to listen to it on the go. But if you hopped on late, you definitely want to go back to the beginning. Treat these topics as more of personal development. And like me, I would listen to something like this if I am walking on a treadmill or if I'm working out or something. All right. All right, y'all. Have a great rest of your evening. And I will talk to y'all soon. And remember, I am having a aligned marketing masterclass tomorrow. So we're going to dive deeper as this topic relates to marketing. So it's not made for therapists. It's made for entrepreneurs. So if you want to hop in there and register for tomorrow for free, on Instagram, you want to comment the word class so that the link can be DM'd to you, or you can simply go to the link in my bio. Do it tomorrow by 3 p.m. so that you can get the link to get in there. And if you're on YouTube, you can go to drtk.com/links. You can go here and then it's like a button to reroute you to the same link on Instagram. You can also check the show notes on YouTube and register as well. Again, my calling right now for this particular season for certain things is to cater to entrepreneurs who need some business therapy and to get out of their head. And a lot of that is impacting your marketing. So, all right, y'all, I will see y'all tomorrow. If you're going to be in the masterclass tomorrow evening, have a great rest of your night. Bye. You're welcome.